Mr.Bones Show.
You guys remember Earthworm Jim? You know, Earthworm Jim, the superhero earthworm that wears a supersuit and saves the universe from terrible creatures such as the nefarious Psychro, the evil Professor Monkey for a head, the evil queen pulsating malformed slug for a butt. So yeah, Earthworm Jim's a series that was created by Doug TenNapel in 1993. Earthworm Jim would later get a video game for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo in 1994, and was a huge success. It gained a toy line, a comic series, and eventually a TV show, releasing in 1994 along with Earthworm Jim 2, which was also praised for its gameplay, charm, and overall level design. Earthworm Jim 1 and 2 are both fantastic platformers. If you have not played them, go play them right now on an emulator. They're fantastic. As much as I love the first two Earthworm Jim video games, we will not be discussing them today. Instead, we'll be talking about the cartoon series. This is where we roll into Lost Media. Lost Media is an internet topic that needs no introduction, as it's been talked about numerous times on the platform and on this channel specifically, like 4 times in fact, so I'm not going to dive too much into what it is. What you do need to know is that there is actually quite a bit of Earthworm Jim Lost Media that not a lot of people know about. Now there's the most obvious ones, the ones that are the most known, like the Lost PSP game that was in development by Atari that had the original team involved. Unfortunately though, things happened and the project was scrapped. There's also the Lost Xbox and PS2 game that was also in development, but there is one case of Earthworm Jim Lost Media that not a lot of people ever talk about or know about or really discuss, and that's the Lost Test Animation that was made by Doug TenNapel himself in 1995 in order to work on the Earthworm Jim cartoon. Allow me to explain. Hold on, I gotta get a drink. I got Bang root beer with me. Hold on. Yeah, it's good stuff. Ugh. Okay. For those people that do know about this supposed test animation, a lot of them think that it's a pitch pilot, but I'm here to correct them. It's not a pitch pilot. It is a test animation, and I'll get into that soon enough. But first, let's quickly talk about the story of the supposed test animation. Doug TenNapel and a man by the name of William Manukit, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce that. Google, how do you pronounce that?
Muniet.
Yeah, this fellow. We'll just call them Doug and Will. Doug and Will both were working on the Earthworm Jim Test Animation as WB commissioned them to make this for their out-of-country animation team, ACOM Studios, which was located in South Korea. ACOM Studios were the people behind those cheaply made WB cartoons. I'll put some on screen as an example, but Earthworm Jim was one of those. Doug has stated that the cartoon had some of the cheapest animation.
The animation budget on it was like the lowest animation budget for its time, so it was cheap.
Yeah.
So the animation's tough.
Yeah.
The writing was good, but I don't think it aged well. I don't know. It's good.
You might be right.
It's good. It's good. It's not what the video game was to video games. The Earthworm Jim TV series wasn't to animation.
Fun fact though, ACOM actually were the same people behind the Crash Bandicoot animation that was leaked a few years back. You know what I'm talking about. They didn't know how to animate Earthworm Jim, so Warner Brothers had commissioned Doug and William to both make an animation test to kind of give the animators an idea of what Earthworm Jim should animate like, hence the term test animation. With that said, Doug and Will both made a series of gag sketches, stitched them together, and sent it over to Universal, and called it a day. That's pretty much the story of what it is and how it was created. However, where is it now, and how can we get our hands on it? Well, you're probably wondering, Mr. Bones, how did you find out about this in the first place? Well, it's kind of an interesting story, actually. To cut the story short, I was looking at Earthworm Jim images on Google, like a total Chad, and I came across this strange image. It was a magazine for the cartoon series in its premiere or whatever, and it had these screenshots that looked nothing like the Earthworm Jim cartoon. Take into consideration, I'd watched every episode of Earthworm Jim cartoon, so when I looked at these screen caps, it did not look right. This looked nothing like the cartoon. Jim was drawn differently, the coloring was different, the shading was different, and there are a lot of scenes in the cartoon that I don't remember, like Earthworm Jim in a fork thing, and I sure as hell don't remember Major Mucus being in the cartoon. What is this thing? I thought to myself. After clicking on the link, the image led me to this strange Twitter thread by a user by the name of AD. A here was talking about how they found a screenshot of a magazine, of how they found these strange screen caps of the Earthworm Jim pitch pilot, quote unquote. Interesting enough, though, this was made by Doug TenNapel, the creator of Earthworm Jim. Yeah, this was drawn by him, so it's honestly weird that Jim even looks like that, but also take into consideration, when I found these images, this was right when I got into the idea of lost media, and it interested the hell out of me. I was like, wow, I've never seen something like this before. This is so cool. You know what I did? I completely forgot about it. Yeah. I didn't remember it a few years later until I had shower thoughts. So yeah, after having this little epiphany in the shower, I was like, I gotta go back and look at this thing. And after digging up the Twitter thread again, I eventually asked myself, how has no one found this yet? You'd think with Earthworm Jim having a semi-successful fan base, there would have to be some person out there on planet Earth that not only is into lost media, but also into Earthworm Jim, and would be willing to find it, right? Well, no. I think the big reason here why no one has found it yet is because this hasn't been talked about too often. I mean, it's pretty rare to come across this thing. The only recollection of its existence is through this Twitter thread, and I don't think anyone's seriously looking through Earthworm Jim images trying to find lost media, so I can see why this hasn't been talked about too often, but seriously, it's so weird how this thing hasn't been found yet. So me being the obsessive Earthworm Jim and Lost Media fan I was at the time, I had to find this thing. I had to get this thing found. I wanted to get my hands on every single piece of Earthworm Jim media that I could touch. So with that said, I started my quest to find this thing. And again, to cut things short, I did not find it, obviously. If I found it, it would be in this video. My attempts were sad, piss-poor quality, and frankly, I was a dumb kid, you know? How is a dumb kid gonna find this thing by himself? It's just impossible, you know? I don't think the chances of one person finding a piece of lost media this obscure is going to wield good results. I did, however, make a Discord server to look for this thing. Unfortunately, though, that only made things worse, as I recruited a bunch of kids to help me find it, and instead of us actually looking for it, a bunch of drama started in the server, and I had to leave it because it was just such bullshit, and I did not want to deal with it. And that really put a bad taste in my mouth because of it, because I was so passionate to find this thing that instead of us finding it, we just, argued about if Earthworm Jim 3D was a good game. That's seriously one of the arguments I had in that server, and that's pretty much when I quit. I just completely quit looking for the Earthworm Jim test pilot. I wanted nothing to do with it at that point, and I just didn't want to think about it anymore. I just gave up. Doug TenNapel announces that he's making a Discord server for Eternal Clay NFTs.
That one didn't age quite so well.
Yeah. Despite this, I asked him for a Discord link, he obliged, and I joined it. Coincidentally, Doug was actually in a live stream, and he was down to asking any fans questions. So I jumped in the voice chat, I was talking to him, I was telling him how much of a fan I was of Earthworm Jim and all of his projects. Eventually, I did ask him about the test animation. I was like, Doug, since I have you here, there is something I'd like to ask you that is Earthworm Jim related, that is bothering me for a long time. There's like this Earthworm Jim test animation, right? I was wondering if you know anything about it, and if maybe you have a copy of it. And Doug basically says, Earthworm Jim test animation, what are you talking about? Eventually, I explained to him everything. I showed him the screenshot of the magazine. At first, he said that it's from the cartoon and that it's always been from the cartoon. I'm like, no, Doug, this is not from the cartoon. This is different. This is something completely different. And I sent him a promo, the WB promo for the Earthworm Jim cartoon that uses footage from the test animation.
Out of the video game and on to Kids WB, it's Earthworm Jim! A new superhero who fights for truth, justice, and the American way! Okay, so he's just a garden variety earthworm with a really groovy suit! It's an all-new, all-action, all-slimy animated series! Earthworm Jim, today on Kids WB!
He goes, oh, this, I remember this, yeah. Me and a man by the name of William
Muniet,
worked on this thing together. Made like a gag reel, like these sketches of Earthworm Jim doing these goofy things. We stitched it together and we sent it to Universal for like this like test animation thing. That's a game changer in this search, dude. Holy shit. And there you have it, folks. The man himself said it. The creator of Earthworm Jim has claimed that it's not a pitch pilot, it is a test animation. So then I ask him the golden question. I'm like, do you know where this is? Do you have a copy of it? He says, no, I don't, but maybe Will does. But then William breaks the unfortunate news that they sold it to Universal for a large sum of money. Yeah, as it turns out, when you make a test animation for a company, when they commission you to do something, yeah, when you make it, you have to give it to them, and you don't get copies of it. That's how a lot of these pilots work. This whole time I was thinking, maybe I could reach out to like producers or other staff members of the Earthworm Jim cartoon, and maybe they have it. But it's all coming to me now. As I'm recording this, they would not have it because this wasn't a pilot. If it was a pilot, they probably would have a copy of it. The producers maybe have a copy of it, but they don't. This isn't a pitch pilot. It's a test animation that was specifically made to give to the animators. It's all making sense now. Like, this isn't like some sort of like prototype Earthworm Jim animation to advertise the cartoon. I mean, technically it was used in promos. This isn't your average pilot. This is like a piece of equipment almost. And I am so like, I cannot believe I haven't thought of that yet. I'm losing my mind here. And I honestly am surprised Doug was the man behind it. I mean, at the same time, I'm not, because he did create Earthworm Jim, so of course, if anyone was going to make a test animation showing people how he moves in an environment, it's Doug TenNapel. All at the same time, I'm so baffled that it also hasn't been found yet. You know, you'd think it's something that would be easy to find, but at the same time, it's probably lost forever. It's one of those cases of lost media where I don't know. I have no idea. It's like Batman fights Dracula. We don't know if the thing is even still in existence or not. I feel like this is more like Meso Blues than anything else. It's almost like the same thing. With Meso Blues, it wasn't necessarily a pilot for Johnny Bravo. It was a reference. It was a thesis project. It was an animation that was completely different. It was simply something that was made for the sake of being made to use as a reference or a tool, you know? Like Van Partible made Meso Blues as a project. It was a tool for his project, right? Doug TenNapel made the Earthworm Jim test animation just to give to the animators over at South Korea. It's all coming back to me. So this Earthworm Jim thing may be another Meso Blues. We may never get this thing or ever find it. However, this isn't necessarily a Meso Blues situation where the creator doesn't want to release it. Van Partible totally has Meso Blues, he just doesn't want to release it to anybody. Doug TenNapel, however, would love to release this Earthworm Jim test animation if he could. The only problem is he doesn't have it. You're probably saying, how do you know, Mr.Bones? How do you know if Doug TenNapel would release it or not? Well, because he released a test animation to Cat Scratch. Yeah, you guys remember Cat Scratch? Well, guess what? Doug TenNapel, he made the test animation for that. And luckily, he made it digitally, so he was able to copy it and release it online. I am getting so off topic here. After this revelation, I made a video, Lost Media Limbo Vol.3, where I discussed it. Don't watch that video, by the way. It sucks. Once again, I dropped the project. I didn't want to look for this thing. I just gave up, and I admitted the fact, well, this thing's lost forever. This is a Meso Blues. We're never going to find this thing. And the rest is history. Until the final chapter of this video, LSSQ. You know, LSSQ, the Lost Media YouTuber that everyone knows and loves. L Supersonic Q made a video called Reading Your Fan-Requested Lost Media Wiki Articles, where he basically raffles someone's name, and the Lost Media article they wanted him to read, he reads. I was one of the names he raffled, and I requested that he looked at the Earthworm Jim test animation. Unfortunately, there's a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of things I would edit with this article. A lot of things aren't true. The Elect Play 92 video, that copy of the Earthworm Jim screener he has, that doesn't have the pilot. That does not have a pilot. That's just a rare VHS tape that has a few episodes of the actual cartoon. So I want to make that very clear. The Elect Play 92 does not have it. Do not contact him or message him. That is false information. Bottom line, don't message this guy. After he was reading this, there's a bunch of things that he pointed out that we could obviously track and maybe actually get this thing uncovered. Like,
so I guess putting this together with the other part I just read, maybe the magazine had access to this same screener tape that this YouTube user has, and there's more than one of them floating around out there. Again, I feel like the magazine lead should maybe be looked into more. Availability.
Like, why not message the people behind the article? Maybe ask the person that wrote it. Maybe he has a copy of it. Maybe the magazine company itself still has a copy of the video in their archives. Who knows? And that actually blew me away. Surprised I haven't thought of anything like that. I know that the magazine may or may not be the Electronic Gaming Monthly. During the time when we actually did get some stuff done on the Discord server, we were trying to figure out where it came from. Unfortunately, we never were able to. We just kind of gave up on that part. We still think it is from the Electronic Gaming Monthly, but at the same time, I don't know. We tried looking through articles from June 1995 all the way to 1996. Couldn't find so. If you want to take a stab at it, go ahead and check it out, and be sure to message me on the Mr.Bones show. So, LSSQ basically sparked my interest in the search again, and that's why I'm making this video, recording this audio in my closet. My final words to all of this is, I don't know if this is the one to be found. This is something that I feel like would take a lot of people to look for. I'm going to need a lot more than just me. I'm no expert when it comes to finding lost media. I kind of suck at finding lost media, if I'm being honest. I'm not good at investigating anything. I'm not good at researching or contacting people. I suck ass at it. I'm not the guy to find this thing. But tell you what, if you're interested in this case in particular, and you want to find this thing, please message me. Reach out to me on my Twitter, or my Discord, or my Instagram, whatever. Ask me about this thing. I would love to help you find it, because I really do want to find this. Out of all of the cases of lost media that I wish I could find right now, Earthworm Jim's at the top of my list. If I had it my way, this would be the next on the hunt. I want to bring this to people's attention because this is way more interesting than your run-of-the-mill pilot lost media. This is something very, very different, something very, very interesting, and something that I cannot believe hasn't been investigated yet. Please, if you are watching this, spread the word. The worm must be heard. That's that shitty-ass hashtag I used back in the day when I was trying to look for this thing. But I really do want to get this thing found. I want to find this. Doug Tenaple, if you're watching this video, maybe spread the word too. Ask your animation colleagues if they know anything about this thing. And that's that, guys. I'm Mr. Bones, the internet's most unrecognizable but Earthworm Jim obsessed fanboy. And I hope you guys stay safe and take care. You guys have a good night.